Florida sunsets had always been my comfort. I would sit on my porch with a glass of iced tea, listening to the cicadas and watching the golden horizon sink into the ocean. For me, those evenings were a reminder of all the blessings I had in life. Raising a son, seeing him grow into a man, and believing he loved me as much as I loved him. But that peace shattered one ordinary afternoon. I remember it vividly. My phone buzzed, and it was a text from my only son, Daniel. I smiled instantly, thinking he was finally sending me an invitation for the upcoming holiday dinner. I had been waiting to hear from him, eager to spend time with him, his wife Amanda, and most of all, my 2 little grandchildren. But when I opened the message, my heart sank. "Mom, you won't be joining us this year. Amanda prefers her family." At first, I thought I had misread it. My eyes went blurry, and I had to blink several times. My hands trembled as I read the message again. No invitation, no compromise, just a flat rejection. Tears stung my eyes, and for a moment I couldn't breathe. My son, my baby, the boy I had held through sleepless nights, the young man I had worked 2 jobs to put through college, was telling me that I didn't belong in his family anymore. I called him immediately, my voice shaking. "Daniel, what do you mean? You're not inviting me for Christmas." There was a pause on the line before he answered, his voice firm but detached. "Mom, it's not personal. Amanda feels more comfortable with her family around. It's just easier this way." "Easier," I whispered, my chest tightening. "Easier to leave your own mother out," he sighed. "Mom, please don't make this harder. You'll understand, maybe next year." And then he hung up. I sat there frozen, the phone still in my hand. 1,000 memories rushed through me. His first day at school, the way he used to run into my arms when I came home from work, the tears he shed when his father walked out on us. I had been his rock. And now it felt like he had cast me aside, like I was nothing more than an obligation. The silence of the house felt unbearable. The walls echoed with the absence of family laughter, of little feet running around, of the hugs I so desperately longed for from my grandchildren. That night I cried myself to sleep. The tears wouldn't stop. It wasn't just about Christmas. It was about the message behind his words. I wasn't wanted. But deep inside, something stronger than grief started to stir. A question. Why? Why would Amanda want me gone? Why would Daniel so easily agree? I didn't yet know it, but the truth behind that simple text would shake my world, and theirs forever. The following morning, I woke up with swollen eyes and a heavy heart. For the first time in my life, I dreaded the holidays. I used to be the one who decorated the tree, baked cookies, and wrapped gifts with joy in my heart, not because of the traditions themselves, but because those traditions meant being together with family. Now, family felt like a door slammed shut in my face. I replayed Daniel's words over and over. Amanda prefers her family. It's just easier this way. I tried to make sense of it. Amanda was always polite to me, at least on the surface. But ever since she and Daniel got married, I noticed small changes. At first, it was little things. She would roll her eyes when I offered to help in the kitchen, or she'd make a sly remark about how Daniel was, a mama's boy. I brushed it off, convincing myself she just needed time to adjust. But then, visits became less frequent. Phone calls grew shorter, and slowly, it seemed like my son was slipping away from me, like sand through my fingers. Still, I never imagined it would come to this, being completely cut off. That afternoon, I decided to reach out one more time. I wrote Amanda a message, hoping to clear the air. "Amanda, I want you to know that I love you and I have no intention of making things harder for you. I just want to be a part of my son's and grandchildren's lives. Can we talk?" I waited. Hours passed. My message was read, but there was no reply. The silence told me everything I needed to know. It wasn't just Daniel's decision. Amanda wanted me out. But why? I thought back to a conversation I had with my granddaughter, Lily, a few months ago. She was only 8 years old, but children notice things adults try to hide. We were sitting on the porch sipping lemonade when she whispered, "Grandma, Mommy says Daddy spends too much time with you." My heart ached. Amanda wasn't just uncomfortable with me, she was jealous. She saw my bond with Daniel and the children as competition instead of family. That realization cut deep, but it also gave me clarity. I wasn't unwanted because of something I had done. I was unwanted because Amanda wanted control, and Daniel, my sweet boy, he was caught between loyalty to his mother and loyalty to his wife. Sadly, he chose the path of least resistance, not realizing the damage it would cause. The days that followed were agonizing. I avoided the holiday aisles at the store, skipped decorating my house, and pretended to neighbors that I wasn't in the spirit this year. But the hardest part came one evening when I opened Facebook. There it was, a photo of Daniel, Amanda, and her family gathered around the Christmas tree. Everyone smiling, children opening gifts, Amanda's parents sitting proudly on the couch. My grandchildren sat on the floor in matching pajamas. And I wasn't there. I stared at that picture for what felt like hours. My heart twisted with longing. It wasn't the gifts or the meal I missed, it was them. The sound of my grandson's laughter, the way Lily would curl up in my lap when she got tired, the warmth of being part of their world. I put the phone down and whispered to myself, I'm still alive, but it feels like I'm being erased. That night, I sat in my rocking chair praying for strength. I told myself I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't force myself into a place where I wasn't wanted. But I also made a silent vow. My grandchildren would know the truth one day. They would know their grandmother loved them fiercely, no matter how much anyone tried to push her away. And little did I know, that truth would come to light sooner than I expected. A week after that crushing holiday, something unexpected happened. It was a quiet afternoon. I was sitting in my kitchen, sipping tea, trying to fill the silence of my home with a little music in the background. My phone buzzed, and when I saw the name, my heart skipped a beat. It was Lily. She had her own little tablet, and sometimes she would video call me without her parents noticing. I quickly answered. Her sweet face appeared on the screen, framed with messy hair and a mischievous smile. "Grandma," she whispered, "I miss you." Tears welled up instantly. "Oh, Lily, I miss you too, sweetheart. How are you?" She hesitated, then leaned closer to the camera. "Mommy doesn't like when I talk to you, but I don't care. I love you." I put a hand over my mouth, trying to stop the sob that rose in my throat. "I love you too, more than anything." And then, Lily said something that made me sit straight. "Daddy said we couldn't see you because Mommy gets mad, but he doesn't want that. He still loves you, Grandma. He just doesn't want to fight." My heart ached for my son. Deep down, I always knew Daniel was torn. He loved me, but he was trapped by Amanda's demands. "Lily, listen to me," I said softly. "Never doubt how much your daddy and I love you. Even if we don't see each other every day, you're always in my heart." She nodded seriously, then whispered again. "Grandma, can I tell you a secret?" I leaned in. "Of course, sweetheart. You can tell me anything." She glanced over her shoulder, making sure no one was watching, then said, "Mommy said she doesn't want you around because she thinks you'll tell Daddy not to give her all the money Grandpa left him." I froze. My father, Lily's great-grandfather, had left a modest inheritance for Daniel when he passed. It wasn't millions, but it was enough to help with the children's future. I had no idea Amanda even cared about it. But suddenly it all made sense, her jealousy, her hostility, her determination to cut me out. It wasn't just about family drama. It was about control over money, too. I forced a smile for Lily's sake. "Thank you for telling me that, sweetheart. You're very brave." Before we could talk more, I heard Amanda's voice in the background. Lily quickly ended the call, and the screen went dark. I sat there in silence, my heart pounding. This wasn't just about me being excluded from holidays anymore. Amanda was manipulating Daniel, twisting his love for her into a weapon to isolate him from me and possibly control everything my father had left behind. That evening, I made a decision. I wasn't going to fight Amanda with anger or confrontation. That would only push Daniel further away. Instead, I would wait, because lies and selfishness have a way of revealing themselves. And sure enough, within weeks, Amanda's mask began to slip. One day, Daniel showed up at my house unexpectedly. When I opened the door, I could see the exhaustion on his face. His eyes were tired, his shoulders slumped. "Mom," he said quietly, "can I come in?" I hugged him before he could even finish. "Of course, sweetheart." We sat at the table, and he ran his hands through his hair. Amanda and I had a fight. She said some things that, well, they made me think. I stayed quiet, letting him speak. "She doesn't want me to talk to you anymore." She says you're too involved, that you're trying to control our lives. He paused, shaking his head. But that's not true. You've only ever supported us. Tears filled my eyes, but I held them back. Daniel, I never wanted to come between you and Amanda. I just want to love my family. He nodded slowly. I know. And then she brought up Grandpa's inheritance. She said I should put it all in her name, to protect it. His voice cracked with disbelief. That's when I realized, she's not trying to protect me, Mom. She's trying to control me. I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. Daniel, love should never come with chains, and family. Family should never be a choice between one person and another. Real love expands. It doesn't divide. He sat there for a long time, staring at the table, deep in thought. Finally, he whispered, I think I've been blind, Mom. I shook my head gently. No, son. You've just been trying to keep peace, but sometimes peace comes at too high a price. That moment was the beginning of Daniel seeing the truth for himself. And soon, Amanda would learn that trying to erase me from the family was her biggest mistake, because blood, love, and truth run deeper than manipulation. Weeks passed after Daniel's visit, and I could feel something changing. He started calling me more often. Sometimes it was short, just to check in, but it was something. Other times he brought Lily and James over quietly, without Amanda knowing. Those visits brought light back into my world. Hearing their laughter in my living room again, baking cookies with them like we used to. It was priceless. But beneath the joy, I knew tension was brewing. Amanda wasn't the kind of woman who would let go of control easily. And sure enough, the storm came. It was a Saturday morning when I heard loud knocking at my door. When I opened it, Amanda was standing there, arms crossed, face tight with fury. You think you're clever, don't you? She hissed. I blinked, caught off guard. Amanda, what are you talking about? She shoved past me into the living room. Don't play innocent. I know Daniel's been sneaking the kids over here. You're poisoning him against me. My heart raced, but I stood tall. Amanda, I don't need to poison anyone. The truth speaks for itself. Her eyes flashed. You've always been jealous of me. You can't stand that Daniel chose me, that I'm his family now. I took a deep breath. Amanda, I was thrilled when Daniel found someone he loved. I welcomed you into this family with open arms, but love doesn't mean tearing people apart, and that's exactly what you've been trying to do. Her face twisted with anger. You think you're going to win, that inheritance money will be ours, whether you like it or not. And in that moment, Daniel walked in. He had arrived just behind her, carrying Lily and James. He froze when he heard her words. Amanda. His voice was low, dangerous. What did you just say? Amanda spun around, startled. Daniel, I didn't mean. But he cut her off. No, you meant it. You've been using me, trying to control me, and cutting my mother out of our lives. I've been blind, but not anymore. Amanda's face went pale. Daniel, please. I just wanted what's best for us. What's best for us. He shouted. What's best for us is family, honesty, love, not greed and manipulation. The kids clung to him, frightened by the shouting. I stepped forward, placing a gentle hand on his arm. Daniel, keep calm for them. He nodded, taking a deep breath, and turned back to Amanda. His voice was steadier now. Amanda, this ends today. You've made me choose between my wife and my mother over and over again. But a man shouldn't have to choose between the two people he loves most. You forced my hand, and now I see who you really are. Amanda's lips trembled, but before she could speak, Daniel continued, I won't sign over anything to you. Grandpa left that inheritance for me, for his family's future, not for someone's selfish gain. And if you can't accept that, maybe you don't belong in this family after all. There was silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. Amanda's eyes darted between Daniel, me, and the children. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Finally, she spun on her heel and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The house was quiet except for the children's soft whimpers. I bent down, hugging Lily and James tightly. It's okay, babies. Everything's going to be okay. Daniel dropped onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. Mom, I don't know what's going to happen next. Maybe she'll leave, maybe she won't, but one thing I know. I won't let her come between us again. Tears filled my eyes. I sat beside him, placing a hand on his back. Daniel, whatever happens, you'll always have me. You'll always have a family. The weeks that followed weren't easy. Amanda tried to apologize at first, but it was clear she hadn't truly changed. Eventually, she packed her things and left. It broke my heart to see Daniel's marriage fall apart, but I also knew. Sometimes endings are necessary for healthier beginnings. Daniel focused on his children. He poured his energy into being the kind of father they needed. And slowly, their home found peace again. As for me, I was no longer the outsider. I was grandma again, the one who read bedtime stories, baked cookies, and listened to secrets whispered by little voices. One evening, months later, Daniel and I sat together on the porch while the kids played in the yard. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. "Mom," he said quietly, "I should have stood up for you sooner. I let fear control me, and I almost lost you." I squeezed his hand. "Daniel, love is patient, and forgiveness is part of family. You saw the truth when you were ready. That's what matters." He nodded, eyes shining. "I promise, Mom. No one will ever come between us again." I looked out at Lily and James, their laughter filling the evening air. And in that moment, I felt whole again, because family, real family, always finds its way back together. And though Amanda tried to erase me, she only reminded us of what truly matters: love, truth, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child.